to the triple-demic of respiratory viruses hitting the United States. And that's the latest. I'm Ray Harris on your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network, and BINnews.com.
Dell's Days of Deals start now with savings on select XPS laptops and Alienware PCs powered by 12th Gen Intel Core processors, plus savings on accessories and free shipping. Call 877-ASK-DELL. That's 877-ASK-DELL.
Is this the tackle?
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Clippers got another strong performance from their dynamic duo to beat Minnesota 99-88. Paul George delivered a triple-double with 17 points, 11 rebounds, and 11 assists. Kawhi Leonard had 19 points and 8 rebounds in 31 minutes. The Clippers have won 3 straight. The UC Board of Regents gave final approval for UCLA to move to the Big Ten Conference in 2024. The 11-5 vote has conditions. UCLA must pay up to $10 million to Cal Berkeley to compensate for revenue the school is expected to lose when UCLA leaves the Pac-12. USC, which is not a member of the UC system, is also moving to the Big Ten in 2024. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. This sports report was brought to you by MVP Accident Attorneys. When it comes to your settlement, we're a slam dunk. Call 833-MVP-WINS or check their website at themvp.com for a free case review.
When you're the victim of a car accident, hiring the right law firm can be the difference between a rewarding settlement and striking out. Call the pros at MVP Accident Attorneys at 833-MVP-WINS for your free consultation.
Call on me, your MVP.
Four racial arsonists set LA City Hall on fire. And everybody is running out of the building straight to KBLA Talk 1580.
I am pleased to welcome LA City Councilman Mike Bonin to this program. Councilman, how are you, sir?
Hello. Thank you, Tavis.
Councilmember Curran Price, good to have you on, sir. How are you today?
I'm well, Tavis. Thank you. Good to be with you and your listeners.
I am pleased to have LA City Councilwoman Monica Rodriguez on this program. How are you today, ma'am?
Good morning, Tavis.
Councilman O'Farrell, good to have you on, sir. How are you today?
Thank you so much, Tavis. So glad to join you this morning.
Councilman Koretz, welcome to this program, sir. How are you?
I'm honored to be on your show. Still in shock from the events of the last few days.
Marquise Harris Dawson, good morning.
Good morning, Dominique, and good morning to the KBLA family.
Councilmember Heather Hutt, good morning.
Good morning, Dominique.
I am pleased to welcome the new president of the LA City Council, Paul Kikoy. Mr. President, how are you, sir?
Good morning, Tavis. I'm well. Thank you very much.
Holding all politicians accountable to you. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
Hi, I'm Tavis Smiley. As KBLA Talk 1580 host, we never quite know where the conversation is going to go. But sometimes our guests really surprise us.
Let me just close with saying I downloaded your app while we were talking. It's a terrific app. I look forward to it. I'm enjoying your format and what have you. I will tweet it to my several 100,000 followers and call their attention to it as well.
If the KBLA 1580 app is enticing enough for our guests to download and share, you should download the app and share with your friends too.
That's beautiful.
What you say? So, download the KBLA 1580 app today and take us with you wherever you go. KBLA Talk 1580.
You are now rocking with the best.
We've got a lot to talk about.
This is a rather bold pronouncement, but we think we can back it up. If you come across a radio frequency anywhere putting more variety and more diversity on the air than KBLA Talk 1580, we sure would like to hear about your discovery.
You got to have vision.
You can search, but we are confident that you won't find more shows covering more topics, hosted by a more diverse and inclusive lineup of talkers than the squad we have assembled here at KBLA Talk 1580.
This is the time, brothers. This is the time.
We've got something for everybody.
That's right.
Health and healing, history and humor, issues and events, empowerment and entertainment, all in one station.
What's really going on?
Free enterprise, you dig?
KBLA Talk 1580.
Yes.
Oh yeah. We got a lot to talk about.
King Kong ain't got on me.
Drop it! When you tune in to KBLA Talk 1580, we want you to know what you're downloading.
Now you listen to me, and you listen to me closely.
In a recent African-American media issue survey conducted by the public opinion research and public policy consulting firm Eviteris, KBLA Talk 1580 was found to be the most trusted, credible, and reliable source on the airways for Black Los Angeles and beyond.
Check it out.
We take our role seriously as your trusted messenger. At KBLA Talk 1580, it's about truth, not ratings. And when you hear us say, when we come forward, we mean it.
That's the bottom line.
We're not going back. Not to the back of the bus, not to back alleys, not back in the closet, and definitely not back to the good old days.
Might as well forget it. No way.
We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
First things first.
First things first, it's the DU General, Money B. I'ma put you up on the schedule, 6 to 9, 8 weekdays, not to unsettle you. Let's go. We got a lot to talk about, so much to pedal through. Unapologetically progressive. Tune to KBLA 1580 to get the message. We're your ancestors' favorite radio station. First black on talk radio, left side of the nation. Me and Dominique DiPrima go way back. Time Smiley making sure the station stays black. Discussing all the issues in our community. We're hosted black and brown and others find unity. So let's talk about it. Maybe we can improve it. Digital underground, always down with the movement. So we tune in to First Things First with the Queen of Black Talk Radio, Dominique DiPrima. Go sis.
First things first.
KBLA Talk 1580. Good morning and God bless. I'm Dominique DiPrima. The show is called First Things First. My first thing each and every day, no matter what week, what year, giving thanks, giving praises, asking for blessings from the Most High, asking for the blessings of the ancestors and the elders, and getting it going. It's a Thursday, so why does it feel like a Friday? You know what we do. Hour one, we do local, left coast issues of interest and how they impact the world. Hour two, we go national, international, and beyond. And our final hour, we do a deep dive with a person or persons of interest. Rhiannon Giddens is my guest today. She's a multi-Grammy Award nominee, Grammy Award winner, and a MacArthur Genius recipient. And she's reclaiming the roots of American music. So this will be quite a fascinating conversation. And if you saw the flyers around town for the opera Omar, they were hanging everywhere. Or if you saw the opera, even better, she wrote it. So she'll be with us today. You're always welcome to call 800-920-1580. You know how we do it, reciprocity and engagement. Right now, though, I'm happy to join as I'll call him my partner in politics today, because that's what I typically have in hour one. He's a friend, but we agree on very little. He's a national leader for Braver Angels, a former nominee for Congress, vice chair of the Republican Party of Los Angeles County. He's a musical artist still and a noted writer and speaker on subjects including racial and political reconciliation. John Wood Jr. He's in studio, so you could see him on YouTube. KBLA 1580 on youtube.com. Good morning.
Good morning, Dominique. How you doing?
Good. Thanks for coming in. It's
Dominique, you are one of my favorite people to both agree and disagree with. Let me just say that. Very few folks would I get up this early for to come in person. But you got me here. So
I'm laughing because you came on my other show at 4, well, maybe 5 in the morning.
Yeah, this is actually late.
Yeah, this is an upgrade
for our conversation.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So talk about Braver Angels, because one of the things we do agree on is being able to disagree without disrespect, being able to move beyond sort of the polarized moment that we find ourselves in the wake of the 45th presidency.
Yeah, right. Well, yeah, so Braver Angels is America's largest largest grassroots bipartisan organization dedicated to the work of political depolarization. I like to sort of deepen that explanation by saying that what we're really about is sort of reviving the communal spirit of American democracy. So, I mean, the thing about it is that we're all naturally going to agree and disagree about politics. That's healthy and normal. And, politics is life and death on a certain level. So it makes sense that we take it as seriously as we can. But you still have to be able to sort of keep the relationships intact that allow not just government to function, but your own household to function, right?
Right?
Yeah, exactly. And so, most of us have liberals and conservatives, in the family and our friends, our friend networks, at our campuses, at our places of work and whatnot. If we can't relate to each other as people, life doesn't work, right? Much less the gears of political society. And so we're looking to basically impact that situation on every level.
And I'll encourage people to check out your website. It's braverangels.org, right?
That is correct.
braverangels.org. Yeah. And, you guys do that work. I mean, you bring together people. I didn't know the organization was considered bipartisan. I consider it a Republican organization of people that aren't crazy.
Well, I mean, thank you.
Thank you, I think.
Getting in trouble with some of my Republican folks. Like, what was she saying about the rest of us? But, look, the truth is that we are a bipartisan or cross-partisan organization because we do have independents and third-party folks with us as well. Our leadership is evenly bipartisan. And so, I work with just as many Democrats as I work with Republicans, which frankly is the way I like it because it's a more accurate reflection of American life overall, I think. But yeah, so all that just to say that wherever you come from politically, there's room for you at Braver Angels.
It's funny, John, I just really feel, and I used to say this to my friend, Dr. O.J. Leka, turned out I was right. I just really feel that you're going to end up in political office one day.
Well, I don't know. I ran, of course, years ago in this area, and people do ask me all the time, would you want to run for office again? And my answer is usually the same. I love being a candidate. I love being on the campaign trail. My thing is we need to change the culture of politics. I wouldn't want to be in a situation where even with the best intentions, I wind up reinforcing the worst parts of the status quo because that's the way the system sort of demands that we operate, right? And so for me, I'm doing the best that I can do to sort of change the culture, change the way the system works, working with people on the grassroots level and institutions. And, if we can kind of reset the environment a little bit, to where it works for a person who has the intentions that I have in politics, then maybe might take another look at hitting the campaign trail again.
It's funny you say reviving the communal spirit of American politics. When did we have that spirit? Was when we were enslaved? Was it when we were fighting for civil rights? I'm trying to figure out exactly what period, because whenever we talk about going backwards, I get suspicious. One eyebrow goes up.
I hear you. It's a simplification, to be sure. The truth is that we've never had that spirit in any sort of a universal kind of capacity. I think that one thing that is true, so you talk about the civil rights movement, I think you and I both are students of that history, and I draw a great deal of inspiration from the philosophy of nonviolence and Dr. King, and many others, of course, Septima Clark, Bayard Rustin, those who pioneered that philosophy. And, that movement was based in this idea that agape love is a spiritual force that can be applied to social change. And the ultimate sort of end goal of that wasn't just civil rights legislation. It was ultimately pursuing what Dr. King termed the beloved community, this positive sort of culture of integration, not just where we're, not judged by the color of our skin, but where the democratic process actively includes us in a shared sense of community. Right? And so for me, that's my vision of American democracy. On the one hand, the equal enfranchisement of all people politically and materially, that's one thing, right? But even deeper than that, there's kind of a spiritual component to it, to where, our society works best if I see you as my sister or my brother made in the image of God, somebody who's equal to me by virtue of our common humanity. That's a deeper sort of way of understanding democracy, but I think it's what we should aspire to. And it's part of what I mean when I talk about reviving that communal spirit.
Told you it was coming soon. We got some things we need to go a little deeper on.
Okay.
But we're going to do that when we come forward. You made a lot of good points, but some of the things I'm like, what? Huh? Wait, what? For example, the fact, in my humble opinion, the civil rights movement is not a was, it's an is. We're still in that bad boy.
Sure.
And thanks to the GOP, we're back to fighting for voting rights. So how does that square? He'll answer that when we come forward, and more. I'm sure I got a thing or two to answer as well on KBLA Talk 1580.
More of First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
Over 100 million people around the world have felt the thrill of Broadway's most spectacular musical, Disney's The Lion King. And now you can too. Experience this breathtaking theatrical event and see why the New York Times declares there is simply nothing else like it.
Give the gift that roars at the Pantages Theater, February 2nd through March 26th. Visit BroadwayInHollywood.com.
Did you know that LA County Library has free Wi-Fi at all 85 library locations? That's right, free Wi-Fi. Now they also offer free Wi-Fi in parking lots at participating locations. Visit a participating LA County Library location, park in a library parking spot, bring your own device, connect to the Wi-Fi, and you're ready to connect with your friends and family, do some online shopping, browse your social media accounts, answer emails, do your homework, and so much more. You won't need a library card to connect, but you can sign up for one while you're there and get access to free books, ebooks, music, movies, and more. For additional information, log on to lacountylibrary.org/Wi-Fi, lacountylibrary.org/Wi-Fi. That's lacountylibrary.org/Wi-Fi.
Smooth skin begins with hydrating ingredients. Olay Hyaluronic Body Lotion nourishes your skin with all-day hydration for deeply moisturized results that give you confidence like buttery soft shoulders like and visibly smooth skin like. Quench your skin with nourishing moisture from Olay Hyaluronic Body Lotion. Try Olay Hyaluronic Body Wash too and get skin your face will envy.
Last minute shopping? Good thing Ulta Beauty's first on your list. From Gotta Have It ready-to-go kits from Fenty and Benefit to cult favorite mascaras to simple yet perfect Ulta Beauty gift cards. We have gifts everyone will love this season. So get shopping, because our kind of holiday is you having your kind of holiday. Hurry to an Ulta Beauty near you or buy online and pick up in store. Ulta Beauty, the possibilities are beautiful.
Your ancestors' favorite radio station, and your favorite morning show host. Let's get back to Dominique DiPrima right now.
Right now, we're talking with John Wood Jr. Braver Angels is his organization. I now know it's a bipartisan organization. If by bipartisan you mean Republican and Independent, I'm just playing. You said you do have Republicans that are, Democrats that are involved with the organization.
We do, absolutely.
And you have a convention coming up.
We do. So Braver Angels National Convention at Gettysburg College, Gettysburg, Illinois. That is coming up on July 5th to 8th. And for folks who are interested in digging deeper, we're a membership organization. We've got thousands of members across the country. And, folks who volunteer, involved in different ways. And so for folks who are on board as members, if you're interested in coming out and joining us as a delegate to the convention, Democrat, Republican, or Independent, you'll have the opportunity to hear from public intellectuals, journalists, elected officials, popular artists, musicians, and celebrities, but to also participate in the kinds of organizing activities that look for common ground between left and right and allow us to sort of stitch together the kind of relationships that can help hold democracy together. It is an immersive sort of experience that connects you to an organizing network and infrastructure that spans the country, and it's a really exciting way to get involved in politics from a different sort of angle. And so, that is July 5th through the 8th, Gettysburg College, Braver Angels National Convention. And if you're interested, check out the website, join us as a member, and you'll see how to get involved from there.
The reason I flagged what you were saying about the civil rights movement being over or making it sound like dusty old history, I have two issues with that. Number one, I feel like conservatives co-opt the messages of Dr. King to champion things that MLK would have clearly opposed.
Sure.
And number two, to me, what we're doing now is a continuation, the anti-racist movement, Black Lives Matter, the fight for fair wages. All of these things are the continuation of the civil rights movement. And now we're fighting for voting rights again. And for whatever reason, well, it's not for whatever reason. You know what I always say, John, you've heard me say it before.
Sure.
I believe the Republican Party is a party that doesn't want black people to vote. So look, we're still fighting for the same things, John Lewis was fighting for. So how can it be past tense?
Yeah, well, when I refer to history, of course, Martin Luther King Jr. obviously is passed.
True.
Some time
But the
ago.
SCLC marches on.
No, of course it does. The legacy of King continues, and of course the contemporaneous struggle, right, for the full realization of the American dream and the opportunities that ought to be equally available to everybody in American democracy continues, right? So yeah, no, I'm not disagreeing with you on that point. I think that what's valuable about and what's sometimes I think lost, in our contemporary sort of politics. Is that part of the Kingian legacy, which really focuses in on achieving the persuasive power of your political and social position, in part by actually humanizing your opposition. This is the lesson for everybody, right? Because at the end of the day, part of what nonviolence boasted was a deep capacity for persuading people through an appeal to conscience, right? I mean, that's the kind of philosophy of approach that Dr. King believed in and talked about. It's not to say that everything comes down to moral persuasion. I mean, Dr. King also said that love without power is weak and anemic, just as power without love is authoritarian and brutal. We need to be concerned with the mechanisms of power and policy and government. But if all we are concerned with is winning elections or making sure that our political opponents can't rig the system in this way or that, the thing that we lose sight of is the fact that we're still dealing with human beings who we are going to be living next door to the day after an election is done.
That's right. That's right. And that's kind of where we are right now.
Right.
I mean, and what you just said sounds amazing, and you're a very, deep intellectual brother. So that's why I never.
That's why I make the small bucks, Dominique.
Yeah, same. That's why I never can understand how you can even be in the Republican Party, because what you said is the opposite of what they do. Win at all costs, is what creates the big lie. It's what creates, these laws that are trying to be passed, and these election, campaigns to get in local election officials so that actual legitimate Democratic votes can be overturned, which is the opposite. It's exactly power without love.
Well, I guess there are two things I would say to that.
Or conscience, for that matter.
Well, there are two things I would say to that. First of all, I am somebody who regards himself as, fundamentally sort of philosophically conservative, but also somebody who has a deep commitment and interest in the principles of equality and equity and so forth. So I sometimes refer to myself as a social justice conservative, which makes people's heads explode. But I am somebody who believes, for instance, as I think many of my friends and Democrats do, and the importance of church and religion as an institution, the importance of entrepreneurialism, and being able to develop the sort of skills and ethos of self-reliance and community building that allows us to build autonomous communities and to succeed in the marketplace. And these are things that, at least in traditional terms, have had some resonance with conservative values. And so, these are all principles that I hold. But at the same time, to take it from another angle, you can divide Black history into three political periods, arguably. You can sort of, in terms of our partisan affiliation, you can look at the period of time extending from Reconstruction to the New Deal, where African Americans were overwhelmingly Republican. You could look at the period of time.
Yeah, and the Republican Party stood for the exact opposite of what it stands for today.
Well, you can look. It
should be noted, because Republicans always like to say that we're the party of Lincoln, but you wouldn't be today. You wouldn't be today. Today, you'd be shooting Lincoln or tying him up and try to hang him like Mike Pence.
Well, but to continue with the history here, you can look at the period of time post, the civil rights movement of the 60s, where African Americans were overwhelmingly Democratic. But in the period of time between more or less the assassination of King and Franklin Delano Roosevelt and the New Deal, you had a period of time where African Americans were largely represented in both parties, mostly Democrat even then, but with a substantial number of Republicans in that switch. That period of time where Black people had shifted into the Democratic Party was also a period of time where the Dixiecratic South, the Democrats in the South, Southern Democrats who were the most vociferous and the most bellicose in pursuing the regime of Jim Crow segregation were the driving force in much of the Democratic Party. But black people were a part of that Democratic
so that Southern
party
strategy,
along with them,
yeah,
right?
you could argue it's not just it was not just in the Republican Party. It also seeped its way into the Clinton style Democrats. But
you can argue that, but the point I'm simply making about my own involvement in the Republican Party is that even if it is the case that I may disagree with the mainstream Republican Party on any number of things, and passionately so, that's more of an argument for me to be involved in the Republican Party as an African American and as somebody who cares about these issues. Not less of an argument.
Yeah, that's one thing we're definitely going to have to agree to disagree on.
But this is why I'm pointing to the history of black involvement in the Democratic
If I disagree with the party, I can struggle from the inside, and I get that. And a lot of people say that Republicans won't care about us at all if we're not in the party. But at the same time, if the organization main mission is suppressing black votes, if it becomes a home of white supremacy, as it clearly is now, and the home of undermining our Constitution, which I know you hold dear, then how do you stay in that party? To me, at that point, you got to say, sorry, guys, I'm not going to organize from within because you have gone way over the rails into anti-democratic, authoritarian, fascist, white supremacist rhetoric and policies. And, I just can't be in an organization that goes there.
Well, all I can say is that
then you become a tool.
Well, all I can say is that Adam Clayton Powell was a Democrat at the exact same time as George Wallace, right? And of course, he wasn't a tool of that larger infrastructure. It was the presence of African Americans in the Democratic Party reshifting the balance of power and the way that issues were discussed within the party at the time,
but that was
ultimately took
America.
that party in a different direction.
That was a different America.
It's only different America because people stood up and made it a different America, Dominique, and that's my point about the present moments as well. It is possible. Give me a few more John Wood Juniors in the Republican Party, right?
Maybe,
and we can make some more progress. But somebody's got to hold a foothold, right? In a space where other folks are not present.
I hear your argument.
Everybody in the Republican Party is
disagree.
not what you see represented, on Newsmax and some of the most extreme places,
like Fox News and
some of the places that are echoing the sorts of things that are troubling here. You do have grassroots Republicans, you do have moderate folks, you do have folks who actually are concerned about these issues. My friends David French and David Brooks and many other folks, they may not be sort of in the mainstream of the party now, but that can change. You've got to hold the ground to have any hope of change at all, and the system is going to be bipartisan either way.
To me, the moderate Republicans are Kristen Sinema and Joe Manchin. Well, those are the moderate Republicans, in my view.
There's a theory of relativity here that we can look at, I think.
For sure. So, we just got a couple minutes before news and traffic. I'll throw something that you can probably respond to quickly. The president gathering dozens of African leaders in Washington. He said he's all in on Africa's future. He brought together 40 plus leaders of African nations, and is advocating for the African Union to be included in, some of these world bodies where they could really have a say, like the G20, where they could really have a say in things like the climate emergency. Your thoughts?
Well, it sounds like a good thing to me. One of the things that gets me about American foreign policy, and I don't put myself forward as an expert on foreign policy, so take my opinions with a grain of salt. But I feel like there are nations in the world that we have, that the broader body of the American people, including black and brown folks, have deep cultural ties to that aren't always sort of centered in our foreign relations, because the larger sort of American government society has differing sorts of interests. But I like the fact that the Biden administration is engaging the African Union. I think that Africa has a place in the global conversation that is not justly recognized in many of our dialogues, and in a moment when China, for instance, is actively buying up land and resources and sort of helping to purchase the allegiance of various parties within Africa. I think that there's a strategic imperative for the United States to more closely engage the continent as well, and so I think African Americans and all Americans really ought to celebrate that.
Agreed. Some people are criticizing the president for inviting some countries with human rights issues. But, we engage with China, we engage with Russia, we engage with all kinds of people who have human rights problems.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's a far cry from just calling people ish-hole countries to be reaching out and having a summit. And that's exactly the kind of thing I'm talking about. You can respond to that after news, traffic, and sports on KBLA. Don't worry, I won't forget. Talk 1580.
She's reclaiming her time on KBLA Talk 1580. More First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
I'm Ray Harris, and here's the latest from the Black Information Network. The Federal Reserve announced another rate hike.
The FOMC raised our policy interest rate by a 0.5 percentage point.
The central bank raised rates, which was widely expected. Fed Chair Jerome Powell said more data was needed before the Fed would change its view of inflation.
Ongoing increases will be appropriate in order to attain a stance of monetary policy that is sufficiently restrictive to return inflation to 2% over time.
The FDA says there's a nationwide shortage of amoxicillin. The popular antibiotic is used to treat sore throats, earaches, and other ailments, and it's been in high demand due to the triple-demic of respiratory viruses hitting the United States. And that's the latest. I'm Ray Harris on your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network, and BINnews.com.
Dell's Days of Deals start now with savings on select XPS laptops and Alienware PCs powered by 12th Gen Intel Core processors, plus savings on accessories and free shipping. Call 877-ASK-DELL. That's 877-ASK-DELL.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Clippers got another strong performance from their dynamic duo to beat Minnesota 99-88. Paul George delivered a triple-double with 17 points, 11 rebounds, and 11 assists. Kawhi Leonard had 19 points and 8 rebounds in 31 minutes. The Clippers have won 3 straight. The UC Board of Regents gave final approval for UCLA to move to the Big Ten Conference in 2024. The 11-5 vote has conditions. UCLA must pay up to $10 million to Cal Berkeley to compensate for revenue the school is expected to lose when UCLA leaves the Pac-12. USC, which is not a member of the UC system, is also moving to the Big Ten in 2024. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. This sports report was brought to you by MVP Accident Attorneys. When it comes to your settlement, we're a slam dunk. Call 833-MVP-WINS or check their website at themvp.com for a free case review.
When you're the victim of a car accident, hiring the right law firm can be the difference between a rewarding settlement and striking out. Call the pros at MVP Accident Attorneys at 833-MVP-WINS for your free consultation.
Call on me, your MVP.
At the Strategy Center, we have a lot to celebrate. Join us Saturday, December 17th, 12 noon to 4 p.m. for our annual holiday block party at Strategy in Seoul, located at 3546 Martin Luther King Boulevard, Los Angeles 90008 on King Boulevard, 1 block east of Crenshaw. Featuring food from Earl's on Crenshaw, Afro-Cuban drumming with Richard Marquez, and ornament making for kids of all ages, and more activities for children. Help us celebrate 33 years of fighting anti-Black policies in LA. We want free public transportation for everyone in LA and 50% of all public and private jobs set aside for Black applicants. Did I mention a live DJ and karaoke? You do not want to miss this. Join us on December 17th from 12 to 4 p.m. at Strategy in Seoul, 3546 West Martin Luther King Boulevard. Visit our website for more information and RSVP to www.thestrategycenter.org.
I'm getting vaccinated with Prevnar 20.
So am I, because I'm at risk for pneumococcal pneumonia.
I'm asking about Prevnar 20 because there's a chance pneumococcal pneumonia could put me in the hospital.
Age 65 or older, you may be at increased risk for pneumococcal pneumonia. Ask your doctor or pharmacist about getting vaccinated with Prevnar 20, pneumococcal 20-valent conjugate vaccine, a Pfizer vaccine that can help protect against pneumococcal pneumonia in just 1 dose. Prevnar 20 is approved for adults to help prevent infections from 20 strains of the bacteria that cause pneumococcal pneumonia. Continued approval may depend on a supportive study. Don't get Prevnar 20 if you've had a severe allergic reaction to the vaccine or its ingredients. Adults with weakened immune systems may have a lower response to the vaccine. The most commonly reported side effect was pain at the injection site. For additional common side effects and full prescribing information, please call 1-855-213-2138 or visit Prevnar20.com.
I want to be able to keep my plans.
So I'm asking my doctor about getting vaccinated with Prevnar 20.
Special Needs Network Incorporated, together with Assembly Member Isaac Bryan, cordially invites you to Christmas Care Exchange in the Park, Sunday, December 18th from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. in Lamert Park, located on 43rd Place in Crenshaw. Experience a day of giving, love, community, and support. There will be celebrity guests, arts and crafts, resource fair, and more. Come take a picture with Santa. Enjoy the DJ. This is a free event open to the public Sunday, December 18th, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Don't miss the Christmas Care Exchange in Lamert Park, located on 43rd Place in Crenshaw. This is the season of giving, and the Special Needs Network, together with Assembly Member Isaac Bryan, wants to bless you Sunday, December 18th, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. There will be toys for all kids up to 18 years old. Children must be present. See you Sunday. Thanks to our sponsors, Let's Behold, The Butterfly Effect, and SEIU 721, State Council on Developmental Disabilities, Niagara Water, Lakeshore Learning, Puck Schools, Crystal Stairs, Beach Cities, Beta Gamma Nu, Casa Lopez, and Los Fabulocos.
Thanks for waking up with Dominique DiPrima on KBLA Talk 1580.
Wow, we are talking with John Wood Jr. He is a national leader with Braver Angels. You can find out more at braverangels.com. If you're one of my Republican friends, and believe it or not, I mean, personal friends, I don't have too many. Maybe 2 or 3 more other than the one that's sitting right here in the room. But on the air, we have a lot, actually, of Republicans that listen and enjoy KBLA. So I hope you will check out braverangels.org. If you are going to be a Republican, join an organization that's doing good. Let me put it that way. That's what I say.
From Dominique DiPrima, that's as close to an endorsement as you're going to get for some that Republicans
ever.
and other folks, but Republicans as well are doing.
Hey, I like the First Step Act, but I don't know if we could say that was strictly Republican. It was what we call a bipartisan effort.
Democracy working.
Right,
the way
right,
you
right.
want it to.
So I know you had a clap back to my my comment about, from a summit where, by the way, the First Lady hosted all of the leaders last night in a state dinner. From that to ish-hole countries does feel, from the perspective not just of international relations, but race relations, like a far cry from what we had.
Well, I don't think we disagree about that at all. Certainly not on the narrow sort of subject of like how we talk about, other nations and so forth. Look, I mean, I could probably think of a thing or two that President Trump did that I agreed with from a strict policy vantage point, but overall, his style of leadership is simply, and it's beyond just the style of leadership, right? It actually goes to substance
Style
and character.
And substance, yeah.
Right, but just on the narrow point, no, calling countries ish-hole countries, that's almost the least of the problems with Donald Trump.
Yeah.
That's certainly, from my vantage point anyway, but that certainly was a problem, right? And so any break from that kind of thing is a good thing.
I mean, it can be seen as the least of the problems, but it is part of the enabling of white supremacy and disrespect towards, other folks, which to me has led to what we see now, this spike in hate crimes, with California sadly leading the way, and anti-black crimes, hate crimes against black people at the top of the list again, and still as the default.
Yeah, white supremacy is something that I'd love to have a conversation about in terms of how we understand the concept, right? Because I think that a lot of times we lean into the idea of white supremacy as being something that shows up in the way people talk and speak, and there's definitely a truth to that. I think that what I focus on is the fact that we have a systemic sort of inequity that pervades American society that owes to a racist history. And yes, it's also true that we have racist attitudes in the present. I actually think that overall, the big story for me in American life is that interpersonally, I believe that Americans, and even across geographies, even in the South, have become less personally racist over time, and that's a victory, but that what we're left with today is a structural legacy whereby the way the criminal justice system operates, the way the education system operates, the way the healthcare system operates, and we can talk about voting rights and other things, but that collectively you have a series of processes that guarantee in many respects that disproportionately many African Americans will be locked into a marginalized material existence, right, where both poverty and violence and many other things are are going to vastly disproportionately beset the African American community in ways that they don't affect other people. And so when people talk about white supremacy, there's a large area of sympathy that I have. The thing that I try to, resist a little bit is kind of a blanket characterization of American society as racist, because that can lead us to the idea that our neighbors are attitudinally racist, which they might be, but not necessarily. And I don't.
Your point is taken, but to me, when you get into that rhetoric, like an entire country is an ish-hole, or you say, I want Norwegians to come, but not Haitians. That is not just coming from the president. That's not just an individual attitude. It's part of what bakes that systemic racism into the cake and enables hate crimes, hate, and white supremacist extremist groups that are recruiting folks. I'm not talking about saying all of America is white supremacist. I'm talking about the rise of specific groups with a white supremacist agenda that are radicalizing American youth, like Kyle Rittenhouse, like Dylan Roof, and then it's playing out. It's not so much do you like me or do you not like me. It's exactly what you said. How is it impacting institutions? But when we have a rise of actual white supremacist organizations, which are now infiltrating police departments, the military, you know what I mean? We saw it on January 6th. Then it's not, I agree with you that what's important is not whether or not you like me or your individual attitude. But I think when the president parrots those kind of talking points, if you will, it emboldens those organizations and systems that are oppressing Black folks as part of what they do, as part of the system.
Yeah, I mean, what I would say is that it absolutely fuels the fire of folks who do and are animated by racial animus, right?
Yeah.
It's absolutely something that genuine white supremacists, I think, do cheer when they hear language like that coming from the president of the United States. It's also true, and this is sort of the irony that makes me sort of look at Donald Trump as having been in his own way sort of a political pragmatist. I mean, Donald Trump certainly also did a whole lot more campaigning among African Americans than previous Republican presidents and presidential candidates had actually done. And, for better or worse, he won the allegiance of a higher number of not just Black celebrities and so forth and hip-hop artists and all that, but actual Black voters. It's still marginal, but Trump outperformed Romney and McCain and Bush and many of his predecessors among Black and brown voters.
But I don't think that's policy-based. To me, that's the Scarface syndrome. Trump was the playboy, billionaire with the hot models, and he was popular in the African American community as a figure of the culture,
as a figure of people's
before he
imaginations,
ever
right?
ran. Yeah,
and I would.
He had a golden toilet. Of course, he's more popular than Romney.
Well, and I would.
Romney strapped his dog to the top of the car.
I would argue that
Trump had Melania and a golden potty.
And I would argue that Trump as a cultural figure was, problematic from my vantage point well before he became a
and
political
we can agree
figure.
on that for
sure.
For
reasons that I would have some criticisms of the hip hop culture that embraced him, but that's another topic of conversation. But what I would say here is that Trump also did take the time to actually reach out to at least specific sort of, corridors of Black America. And you can say he did it utterly cynically or whatnot, but the thing about Trump is only a person like Trump could, with one side of his mouth, say that he was, actively engaging Black people and actually show up to certain things, with the other side of his mouth sort of dog whistling to white supremacists and so forth. He did all of that. And so from my vantage point, I don't know if Trump in his heart of hearts is racist or not. I really don't know. But the one thing that seems clear to me is that he has sort of an amoral kind of approach to politics.
You don't know? This is a guy who asked people from Norwegian countries to come here, but called African countries ishol. This is a country that had immigrants working illegally. I mean, this is a guy illegally at night cleaning up his his swanky clubs, golf clubs and whatnot, but but actually imported European immigrants to work in the front of the house because he wouldn't let Black people work in the front of a house. This is a person whose dad was in the KKK, who was sued repeatedly by this state for not allowing Black people to live in his properties, all before he even became president. If it walks like a duck, if it quacks like a duck, it's a duck. I don't care if you you like rich Black people. That doesn't make you not a racist. Well, not that it matters, because he
And I'm not even saying
he
you're
empowers
wrong.
white supremacists.
I'm not even saying that you're wrong. I guess the question in my mind, and to a degree, it doesn't even matter. But
because it's not even about Trump. It's also about the Republican Party. Ron DeSantis is just as bad. He's just a little more polite.
Well, the question, right? So the thing, and we the whole other conversation there. But what does a person do because they actually believe it, and what does a person do because it makes money or it wins votes? There's always that right. explanation. But again, it on a material level, there's a way in which it matters, but there's a way in which it doesn't.
Because if you're a prevaricator, if you're a habitual liar, like. It's true. What does it really matter what you say at a certain point?
I do think
when you're the president, it becomes a problem.
That Ron DeSantis is very much a step forward for the Republican Party over Donald Trump. If it comes down to a choice between Trump and DeSantis, if that's the choice, for me as a Republican, that's an easy one to make.
Well, yeah, because he's he's not as damaged. But the policies are the same, John Wood Jr. The policies are the same, if not worse, because he's slick enough to convince some sane people to vote for their own demise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, but at least at that point, we can have an actual policy debate. Right. I would like to think. Now, my concern about Ron DeSantis
How
and
is
any
Don't
other...
Say Gay allowing a policy debate? How is the anti-wokeness legislation that shuts down teachers' ability to even educate kids on our history? How is that allowing a policy debate? It's actually Big Brother legislating censorship.
Yeah. The thing that I would say about Ron DeSantis vis-a-vis Donald Trump is that with Ron DeSantis, my hope is that Ron DeSantis is able to embrace an adult way of doing politics that can take us back to the place where you could have a Barack Obama and a Mitt Romney more or less operating in the same universe of factual reality. Granted the fact that politicians are always distorting reality for their own gains in one way or another, but I look at Trump as having existed on another level. My concern about DeSantis or any other Republican who runs for president is the idea that it's possible that they may feel some obligation to cater to the norms and expectations that Donald Trump has already established within the Republican Party.
The MAGA streak. And I got to point out, DeSantis is a guy who, at one point was touting vaccinations and then made a U-turn to be anti-vax to appeal to exactly that crowd, exactly the Marjorie Taylor, gringos of the world. Well, and, that's dangerous. And that is not any different than the 45th president, except for he's got better hair. And he doesn't, he appears to as a return to norms. Normal, I lie once a day instead of 20 times a day.
Politicians, that's not too bad. I do think that the thing that DeSantis has going for him that makes him a strong candidate in conventional terms is the fact that, COVID-19 and the political response to that vis-a-vis the lockdowns were really just about the defining sort of issue, one of the defining issues of the last few years. And it seems as if while keeping Florida open, he was able to also keep the economy going in a way to where their health outcomes were also comparably positive to much of the rest of the country, to where for many people, including many Democrats,
a lot of people died in Florida. You look at their death numbers.
Well, keep in mind too that Florida has also got one of the oldest populations in America. So baseline, you would have expected that.
Yeah, all right, John.
But when you control for that variable, he's at least got a strong argument to make. And there are many Democrats in Florida who believe he did a good job. And so that positions him, to be able to say, I got this right where so many other people were getting wrong.
That's where you get the Florida man. We're talking with John Wood Jr., continuing our conversation when we come forward. Hey, this is bipartisanship at its doggone best. KBLA Talk 1580.
We may be LA's newest talk station, but when you're punching above your weight, it's not about whether you can throw a punch. Can you take a punch? We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. And we don't black down.
Bring in the new year with Ted Williams. He's coming to Ontario in the Toyota Arena December 30th. And in Los Angeles in the Microsoft Theater December 31st.
I don't know what I'm going to do about this light bill. Just hit the blunt one time and see if it don't change your perception of what's important in your life. I don't know what I'm going to do about this life. Them blunts. I got 12 candles. I've been waiting to burn them.
He's back with an all-new show. It's the award-winning comedian, Cat Williams.
Just so you knew they was lying, they said some next that don't even make mathematical sense. They said there's a chicken wing shortage, but we got plenty thighs.
Cat Williams with his special guests, Mark Curry, Tommy Davidson, Tony Roberts, Daphne Springs, and Pretty Ricky. In Ontario, get tickets at Ticketmaster. Ticketmaster. In Los Angeles at AXS.com. Bring in the new year with Cat Williams.
Did you know it pays to drive electric? With government rebates, you'll save thousands on the purchase of a new or used EV. And the more you drive, the more you'll save, both on fuel and maintenance far into the future. Start seeing savings today. Learn more at ladwp.com/EV. That's ladwp.com/EV.
KBLA Talk 1580 wishes you a happy holiday and wants to bless you with one night only. A Wonder Winter's Night presented by Stevie Wonder's House Full of Toys benefit concert. Saturday, December 17th at Microsoft Theater. Download the KBLA Talk 1580.com mobile app to enter to win a pair of tickets. This has been a community call to action brought to you by KBLA Talk 1580.
This Sunday and every Sunday is the African Marketplace and Drum Circle Community Market. Get free groceries, essential resources, and buy black from local merchants of arts, beauty, custom black merchandise, and more. Choose from a wide variety of cuisines, custom-made clothing, jewelry, and a lot more. Experience the true essence of Africatown at Leimert Park every Sunday from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. Join the Drum Circle, dance, enjoy live performances, connect with other conscious black people. Experience black excellence every Sunday in Africatown at Leimert Park. You can find us on Degnan Boulevard near Vernon and Crenshaw in the heart of Africatown at Leimert Park. That's the African Marketplace and Drum Circle Community Market. Join us for music, shopping, food, and fun this and every Sunday. Support black businesses, recycle black dollars, and feed your soul. The African Marketplace and Drum Circle Community Market every Sunday in Africatown at Leimert Park. Brought to you by Africatown Enterprise and the African Village Vendors Association.
Less BS per broadcast. Fewer microaggressions per megawatt. KBLA Talk 1580.
Indeed. Man, time flies when you're chopping it up, especially with a friend, an old friend, John Wood Jr. See, we are showing you how to disagree without disrespect. So
we can do it.
Yeah,
we
can do it. And, you know, what how do you see the end game here? I mean, because, you know, we were sitting here arguing about Ron DeSantis, and I assume you're happy about the polling that shows he's leading Trump substantially among Republicans. This USA Today this week. To me, he's still, I agree with Governor Christ. He's still to Satan, but
that's harsh.
Well, I didn't make it up.
Or DeSanctimonious.
DeSanctimonious, right?
Trump's still got a flair for nicknames. You got to give him that.
Pot, meat, kettle. But what's your end game here? I mean, how do you? What's your vision for black people in the Republican Party? The party that I say is the party that doesn't want black people to vote.
Yeah, right. Well, you know, I'm with Bob Woodson of the Woodson Center, who I know you know a bit, and who's long been critical of the Republican Party for years and years, because the Republican Party is one that puts this, well before Trump.
But Woodson is a Republican, isn't he?
I think Bob is probably a registered Republican. He's certainly worked. He worked for the Reagan administration.
You introduced us, and
he's a conservative.
Our conversation, he definitely, he would be the most conservative Democrat I've ever met if he's. But anyway,
I'm just saying. I don't know if he's technically registered,
but he's critical of the party.
Well, yeah, and he operates, and he's conservative, but he operates in an independent sort of way. And the thing that Bob says, which I agree with, is that the Republican Party has been hypocritical with respect to black people, because on the one hand, it makes the argument that through lower taxes and so forth, you're going to lift all boats, but that only works if you have positive investment in communities. And if you're going to say that the government isn't supposed to take an active role in bringing resources to communities to help sort of lift the tides of opportunity, you damn sure need to make sure that business and philanthropy and community organizing and the sorts of resources that the private sector could bring to bear on issues of inequity and inequality are there at the table. See, I work in philanthropy. I interact with a lot of business people. I work with people who call themselves conservatives, who have criticisms of the government's involvement in various areas of life. And I'm like, great. If you're writing big enough checks, the government doesn't have to do these things. So why don't you take your pen out and put your money where your mouth is, right? I think that it ought to be the case that people who call themselves conservative and criticize Democrats for relying on the government in whatever ways don't themselves put all of their eggs in the basket of politics, but recognize recognize the fact that the ways in which communities are elevated and opportunity is generated is by our investing in each other on the community level. Right? And I think that for many black folks who are concerned, as I am, about the health and vibrancy and solidarity of black communities, part of how I like to define black conservatism is being interested in conserving and enriching black community. Right?
Yeah, and how I describe black progressivism is being interested in progress for black people worldwide, and all people, by the way, because that's the real lift all boats, in my not so humble opinion.
But I do think that that's a point of intersection, ultimately. Because at the end of the day, you know, we live in a society that has the mechanism of government, but that also has business, philanthropy, and all sorts of other sectors that cross over to create sort of the matrix by which we can operate community and so forth. And we've got to pull on every lever to be able to advance towards that greater opportunity. And that's something that black progressives and conservatives, I believe, can do together.
Well, let's hope so. We're talking with John Wood Jr. When we come forward, I'm going to just pass him the mic and let him indoctrinate you a little bit. No, I'm just playing. Let him make his final argument, his closing arguments on KBLA Talk 1580.
We don't try to be all things to all people. We just remain true to who we are. You're listening to KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580 invites you to join us in celebrating the season of giving by being part of the solution. As we enjoy great food, family, warmth, and well wishes in whatever our festive tradition may be, we share the beauty of the season by reaching out to the less fortunate. Please help us to help others with the KBLA Cover the Houseless Cozy Community Coat and Blanket Drive. All you have to do is drop off new or clean, gently used winter coats and blankets in the KBLA lobby during business hours, now through December 20th. All of the coats and blankets will be donated to unsheltered individuals and families experiencing houselessness. Simply bring your donation to 4434 Crenshaw Boulevard in Los Angeles, near Vernon Avenue, from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. weekdays. That's 4434 Crenshaw in historic Leimert Park. During the holidays and every day, let's remember, we keep us safe. We keep us warm. We are the safety net. And together, we can cover the unsheltered. Get caught up in the spirit of the season, the spirit of love. Make a difference with your friends at KBLA Talk 1580.
Congratulations to the Los Angeles Norwalk Courthouse. They are this week's KBLA Talk 1580's Office of the Week. The Los Angeles Norwalk Courthouse, in part of the Superior Court of California, County of Los Angeles. Congratulations. Warmest wishes for a joyous holiday season and a happy new year from your friends at KBLA Talk 1580 and MVP Accident Attorneys.
Did you know addiction to drugs like meth or cocaine is a disease and not a choice? But getting help is. If you have stimulant use disorder, your family and friends may have a lot of questions, including where to start. Choose Change California can help. Make a change today and find a proven treatment option for you at choosechangeca.org.
This is KBLA Talk 1580, where hate loses and love wins.
Well, John Wood Jr. is here. I told him I'm handing him the mic. He's had it all along. BraverAngels.org is where you can find him. You also have a podcast. You do a lot of different things. What do you want to leave us with today, this morning?
Actually launching a new podcast called Uniting America with John Wood Jr. It's going to be out early in the new year, so look for that as we go into early January. Tavis Smiley will be one of my first guests, among many other interesting folks. Sam Harris, Kim Iverson, folks like that. BraverAngels.org. Once again, we are having our national convention, so largest bipartisan grassroots organization working on political depolarization. You can join us in Gettysburg, Illinois. If you come on board as a member and apply to be a delegate, you'll get the opportunity to expand your sphere of influence, build your relationships across the aisle, and find ways to organize effectively for the causes that you believe in that defy the expectations of conventional politics. And, I think, Dominique, I would say that, Black America has a long and proud tradition of advancing the cause of freedom and justice in both parties, right? From Booker T. Washington to Shirley Chisholm to whomever you might name, Black Democrats and Republicans have defined the country's approach to matters of justice and equality time immemorial in this country, and that is a tradition that we could continue in the present day if we chose to. Even though black conservatives are a minority within both the black community and the Republican Party, I do believe we have a positive role to play in advancing the larger interests of black America, but it requires us having the conversations that you and I have, Dominique, to sort of explore and realize sort of, where those paths converge and where those principles align. And I do believe that they do.
It also requires the Republican Party to quit picking people like Herschel Walker.
You got another hour?
I do, actually.
We can go to that.
Yeah.
That's right. You do. I got to be helped. Next time. Let's do that.
BraverAngels.org.
That's right.
BraverAngels.org. John Wood Jr. is always a lot of fun chopping it up with you, and I thank you for doing what you do.
Thank you, Dominique.
It's KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Ree Harris, and here's the latest from the Black Information Network.